Hi, my name is Reverend Joanna Bartlett, and I help people heal from loss and learn how to trust their own inner knowing, their own inner voice. And I do this in a couple different ways. One is I'm a certified grief recovery specialist, and I help people heal from loss and grief around the many different kinds of losses that we experience in life, whether that's death and divorce, some of the major losses, or even there's lots and lots of other losses we experience throughout our lives. And I help people get free of the pain from them, the unresolved pain that we end up carrying around with us for years and years, sometimes without even realizing it, so that they can live authentically and be themselves and be free and not be carrying around all that baggage. And then I also teach intuition development and mediumship development to help people connect in with their own inner knowing, their own inner voice, and learn how to trust it, learn how to open themselves up so that they can really understand and know when they're receiving this information from spirit or from loved ones or guides or their own intuition, and learn how to trust it so that they can actually use it in their lives to, again, live authentically and live wholly and really be themselves and feel themselves in this world. So I am happy to take questions from anybody if you have any questions about me or the work that I do.
So, yeah, I have a question, Joanna. When you work with people on grief, I imagine there are different ways that people work with grief, and maybe you could tell us a little bit about what's your perspective about it? How do you help people through that?
Well, so I work with something called the grief recovery method. That's what my training and certification is in. I'm also a minister, so I have done a grief counseling, learning, and so mostly I listen to people. I let them actually be heard, and I don't insert my opinion and analysis and criticism of their experience of grief, which is what many people do just because we don't know any better, because that's what we're taught. We're taught to say things to people when they are going through grief and loss that are intellectually true, but often actually really hurtful and not at all helpful in people doing the emotional work of healing. So, a longtime spouse might die, and people will say, well, at least you were together for, 40 years or something. And that's intellectually true and completely unhelpful, because you want that person to still be here and available and around. And so the process that I help people work through helps them discover some of the things that they've been taught about grief that aren't helpful, the tools that they've been using themselves that don't really work. And I help them discover the losses in their life that are still incomplete, and then we go through a kind of specific process, take some specific actions to actually resolve what feels emotionally unresolved and painful for them around that loss.
Great, thank you. Sharon has a question. Do you believe everyone is intuitive and able to receive messages? What's your perspective on that?
So I think everybody is intuitive. I think we all have intuition. I think of intuition as being something like a bit like our ability to sing. Some people are completely tone deaf and cannot carry a tune, and that's just, it's how they are, and it's okay. That's how they are. And some people are amazing singers from birth. Like, you hear this 4-year-old with this amazing range and voice and power in their voice. And I think our intuition is a lot like that. There are a few people that, maybe they're just not connected for whatever reason, and they just really don't get much intuitively. And then there are some people who just, oh my gosh, without even being trained at all, they're just so connected. And then there's everybody else who's kind of in between. And most of us, like, if we all had vocal training, we'd probably all be better singers. And so if we learn more about our intuition and how to use it in our lives and how to trust it, then we can become more intuitive. But I think we generally have some amount of intuition to begin with.
Is there a connection, since you work with grief and intuition, and this is a question from Angie, is there a connection between the two? Have you noticed that maybe someone going through a major life event that creates grief or loss, does that somehow trigger their desire or their ability to connect more intuitively?
It can. I kind of got into doing grief work the other way around, because I found that people who are intuitive or who are mediums and who want to grow in that way, at some point they have to do their inner work of healing from their past losses, because it comes up. Because as you grow spiritually as a person, as you develop as a person, you got to deal with your stuff at some point. It comes up, and sometimes it like whacks you over the head. So that universe is 2x4, I think. And so that's how I got into doing grief recovery work, and how to recover from the losses that you experience in your life, so that the information that you get intuitively or from spirit then becomes very clear information, because it's not pressing your own buttons anymore. You're really clearing up your filter so that you can get good, clear information. So I think learning how to heal from the losses you've experienced in your life helps you on, you know, the rest of your path. And so for me, that's how the two of them go together. I know they seem kind of like weirdly disparate, and so that's why I think of it more as healing from loss rather than necessarily grief, because we all experience losses in our lives, and sometimes the hardships that we have, the losses, the grief that we go through, can shut down your intuition. Because when really hard things happen and you go, well, why didn't I know that was going to happen, you can feel kind of betrayed by life, I think. And it can help you, it can cause you to not trust yourself anymore, to not trust your inner voice. If you go through a death that's particularly hard, or a bad divorce, or something like that, it can really derail you, I think, and your ability to trust yourself and listen to yourself.
And so tell us a bit about how you work with clients, what are your offerings, and tell us about that.
So I work with clients in a variety of ways. So when I'm helping people move through loss, I have a grief recovery class that is local to where I am in Eugene, Oregon, which is an 8-week class. I have another one starting up at the end of April. And then I work with clients one-on-one, which I do, again, locally at the moment. I hope to be able to offer that online at some point, hopefully later this year, but I can't right now. And then I also work with clients one-on-one to help them in their intuitive mediumship growth, that I mentor or coach folks one-on-one in that way, to give them individualized help, whatever they need, wherever they're at, whether they're just beginning or they want to become a professional, medium or psychic or intuitive. I can help them along that whole journey. And then I have several online classes. I've been teaching classes live online, and then I also have them available on demand as well. And those are focused on intuition and mediumship development.
Great. Well, thank you so much. And what is your website?
So my website is alightintuition.com. Or you can try revjoannabartlett.com, gets you the same place as well.
Great. Thank you so much, Joanna.
Any other questions?
I think that's all for now. Yeah.
All right. Well, it has been lovely getting to yabber on about the work that I do. So thanks. I appreciate it.
Thank you.